Howdy, howdy, fellow movie watchers, and welcome back for another edition of the Wisco Movie Watchers podcast, brought to you by PTE Creative. As always, we are your hosts, Evan Davies and our good friend Dylan Davies. Today, we are going back to the well. We are continuing our year-long project of our top 100 films. This time around, we're going film 90 to film 81. If you didn't catch our last one, go check it out in the archives. It was just a couple weeks ago that we recorded that one for January. This is our February edition of the show. A lot of fun stuff throughout. The only caveat, 'cause we're not going to do the whole preamble again. The only caveat, this is a personal list. This is not our top 100 rankings of this is the greatest movie of all time.
Not the greatest movies of all time, just your favorite.
You will notice Dylan's list probably highly regarded compared to mine so far.
Yes.
We'll put a graphic on screen right now, but Dylan's top 100, you got Titanic, Home Alone, Star Trek from 2009, The Vanishing, Inside Out, Get Out, Sideways, The Burbs, Philadelphia Story, and Good Will Hunting. We're all in Dylan's top 10. So a little bit more critically acclaimed than Edge of Tomorrow, Jumanji: The Next Level, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Dodgeball: A True Underdog Story, Wonder Woman, Wild Wild West, Goosebumps, Red Dawn, the original Red Dawn, Howl's Moving Castle, and Step Brothers for myself. So you can see where we differ as movie watchers a lot from just even the first 10, and it's going to probably diverge even further. Some fun stuff. So kick us off with number 90 today.
All right, my 90. I don't know what number it was for you. It's Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
So my Who Framed Roger Rabbit I had at 98. So
okay,
I love that. I love Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It's a great movie.
Yeah. First off, it's like revolutionary. Like the mixture of animation and live action is, well, it's been done before. I don't think it's ever been so well.
Yep.
Because it's actually interacting with the live action world really well. And I love the mystery aspect of it. Bob Hoskins is like great in that movie.
Oh, he's incredible in that movie. Christopher Lloyd's also a great villain for that movie.
Yeah.
Great choice. So I'll just share my blurb from it quick to kind of echo some of your sentiment. A cartoon fan's wet dream with the perfect amount of adult theming. Back to the Future team meets Walt Disney and Looney Tunes. Chef's kiss.
That's another thing. Yeah, it mixes Disney and Warner Bros.
If you ever want to have hope for the impossible being possible, watch Who Framed Roger Rabbit, because who in the hell knows? I think it was Spielberg that made the calls as a producer on the film, and I think he personally made a lot of phone calls, not like, oh, the office of Steven Spielberg would like to speak to you. It was like, no, I Steven Spielberg myself, I'm going to make this phone call because he got Disney and Warner Brothers to work together with their most cherished IPs of the time.
Disney's definitely hurting at that time, which helps.
Yes.
But it's still like, that's a feat to get those two to work together.
I mean, to have Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny on screen at the same time
that's awesome.
It's truly a wet dream of a cartoon fan.
Yeah. Yeah, I like all the interaction with like the real like gun and stuff, and then you have like that scene where there's the sink and the cartoons are interacting with in the water and everything. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. Everything.
It's so cool to watch.
That movie is such an inspiring movie to think of. That's a movie that makes a moviegoer that's a creative go, what could we do? This is the box, and this is the universe outside of it, and that's the universe next to our universe. That's where Who Framed Roger Rabbit is. Where you just go, what is this possible?
Yeah, and it shows like just how great the filmmakers were, because you have to like be able to think so far ahead to do all that.
I mean, Robert Zemeckis does a phenomenal job with this movie. It's
Yeah.
the fact that Robert Zemeckis follows up Back to the Future with Who Framed Roger Rabbit is insane. And he wraps Who Frames Roger Rabbit and goes into the dual production of Back to the Future Part 2 and 3. That had to be such a grueling directorial
Yeah.
process for him on those three back to back to back. That's a wild, wild way to do things.
Yeah. The only thing I know about the production that didn't go well is that voice of Roger Rabbit, is it Dexter Fleischman? His name? Yeah, I'll make sure. I just know he was a huge pain in the ass because he wanted to be on set all the time and actually like act out the scenes with as Roger Rabbit, and he's just like he's such a weird fucking dude. Um, wait,
I mean, I think that's tough because we're now seeing like Guardians of the Galaxy is a good example of what helped them with Rocket and Groot was putting people on set. Sean Gunn plays Rocket Raccoon in Guardians of the Galaxy,
Charles Fleischer is his name. Charles, yeah,
and
he's such a weird guy.
it gives somebody something to go off of and interact with, which is good. But then if you're doing it to the point of problematic, not so much. Bob
Charles
Zemeckis just
Fleischer,
can't. Bob Zemeckis just can't escape having at least one problematic actor during that time in his
yeah.
productions, man.
Charles Fleischer also has a little role in Zodiac where he plays a huge creep. You'll see that on my list way later.
You do love Zodiac. I knew
Yep.
Zodiac would be part of that. But yeah, again, this is a mind bending and expanding movie where you just go, I didn't know they could make movies like this. And it's a movie of the time that does so much, and then when you grow up as just it's a part of the world, you don't appreciate for how good it is, and then as an adult, you just go, how the fuck did they do this? It's such an incredible movie.
Oh, Jessica Rabbit also, she's iconic.
Oh, I mean, yeah, Jessica Rabbit is she's truly one of the most iconic cartoon characters of all time. She
Yeah.
really is. To the point where they used her as the when Disney World was going through a lot of its construction processes to make ancillary worlds in Orlando, they had Disney World's Pleasure Island, and it was like an adult hangout island as part of what became Downtown Disney, and she was the mascot. It's like, well, what says Pleasure Island? Jessica Rabbit does.
Yeah, that works.
I mean, hey, it works, it works. Number 90, I'm going to give you a slightly different vibe here. 1992, 31st highest grossing film. It's the beginning of a quartet of great sports movies for kids from the 90s. It's the Mighty Ducks, baby. Absolutely love the Mighty Ducks. Also, one of the most absurd experiences I've ever had in this world. The Red Rocks Amphitheater, world famous, right outside of Denver, Colorado. It's one of the coolest places you could ever watch a show. I watched Mighty Ducks there. It's just like a wild experience because this is where some of the best musical acts, comedians, people go. It's like, oh, I played Red Rocks, right? It's just like, I don't know. We got to fill the seats during the summer. Fuck it. I don't we just play Mighty Ducks and let the people come. And I was like, yeah, hell yeah, dude. It was a fun time to the point where even I remember I went there during my wife's uh, rotation as a part of med school. She was checking out. She wanted to apply to the University of Colorado for her medical residency. And I was doing a bunch of adventures. And one night I was like, yo, you want to go to Red Rocks and watch Mighty Ducks? And she's like, why? And I was like, because it sounds awesome. It sounds great. And she's like, I guess. And I remember even she was like, this is pretty cool. I'll give it to you. I was like, yeah, of course it's fucking cool. It's awesome. But just a really fun. It's a great intro to a sports movie for kids, I will say. And there is like I said, it's a quartet of great sports movies back to back to back to back years where you go, Mighty Ducks, Sandlot, Little Giants, and Big Green, all with different sports. So any kid could pick a sport and figure out the sport that they liked the most and connect with it. Just the band of misfits is perfect in this, and Emilio Estevez has always been a favorite of mine, so I always
Yeah.
enjoy it.
Yeah. I don't really remember the movie all that much because it's been so long since I've seen it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was so good that they made what, 2 or 3 sequels?
They made 2 sequels, and remember, an animated series where ducks are actually the
True.
hockey players and they were like warriors and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that TV show, but yes.
I mean,
Yes.
here's the thing. Mighty Ducks was popular enough that it really truly, I mean, it was a popular enough brand that that's how the Anaheim Ducks of today became an actual franchise. To where for D2 the Mighty Ducks, they wore the Mighty Ducks jerseys before the team fucking did.
Yeah. Like that, the little logo of the Mighty Ducks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's like,
It's iconic.
yeah, it's awesome.
D2,
Oh, like,
the inferior sequel
and
by most people's standards, but
oh yeah, definitely. But like, it's funny how anyone from our generation immediately would know, but it's
oh, you see it and you're like, oh, Mighty Ducks,
yeah,
got it,
yes,
love it. But yeah, I adore the Mighty Ducks. It's just a really fun, heartfelt movie, enjoyable nonetheless. One of these days, I'm finally gonna buy my OG Mighty Ducks jersey. Got to. It's gotta be.
yeah.
Gotta be fun. All right, take us to your 89.
My 89 is About Time. Have you seen About Time?
I don't think so.
About Time, you got Rachel McAdams, you got Donald Gleason.
You've talked about this. I've seen clips of it, but I don't.
Yeah, yeah. It's so going in, I just expect it to be just like a rom com,
Sure.
and it does have like aspects of that. Um, but you also get like great storytelling of like actually it's like pretty crushing story of like him and his father, which is like really emotional. And it's yeah, it gets people, it gets the waterworks going
Yeah,
at
from what you
times.
just said, I would assume it would get me going pretty hard.
Yeah.
So,
It's yeah, it's pretty emotional. Most people that watch it definitely cry about that aspect of it. Um, Richard Curtis wrote and directed it, who also made like iconic rom coms like Love Actually, Four Weddings and a Funeral. Great supporting cast too. You got Bill Nye,
yep.
um, Vanessa Kirby in before she was famous. Really,
About to be Sue
I
Storm.
think that's yeah. She's like a bit player in it. She's like the best friend, but she's like barely in it. I'm trying to think of who else was. Oh, that motherfucker who plays Matt Norrington in Pirates. The other guy, the other British guy.
Like his second in command all the time. That
No, no,
guy.
the other British asshole in the sequels.
Oh. I know who you're talking about. It's not Norrington. It's what's his name? It's gonna drive me crazy. Beckett.
Beckett.
Yeah.
Yeah, Beckett. Yeah. I can't remember the actor's name. And you got Mr. Dursley. He's also in a couple scenes. Yeah, it's a fun twist on a rom com where you also have like time travel, just like paradoxes and stuff. It's really fun.
Okay.
Um,
Interesting
yeah,
choice.
highly recommend.
Interesting choice. I'll go to a very different vibe, which I assume this is going to be higher on your list if it's on your list. Fourth ranked of 1991. I'm going to The Silence of the Lambs.
Oh yeah, it's you're gonna see that.
I'll just share my blurb and just a hair about it. I assume this is much higher a couple shows from now than this one. So
Yeah.
I'll still say some stuff just to get it out. One of the first great movies I quote found on my own. I just remember flipping through channels, and I was like, "What is this movie?" And finding it, and I just remember talking to anybody I could. Like, have you ever seen Silence of the Lambs? And I was one of the first in like my friend group and around where I was like, "Seen Silence of the Lambs?" And they're like, "No." I was like, "Go fucking watch it. It's incredible." Because it was just old enough to where it wasn't part of the rotation of that's a great movie. You need to go see this if you love movies. It was just old enough outside of that range when we were teenagers, because it was at that point already 15 plus years old. But when I see Arkham Asylum in my head as a huge Batman fan, I see those glass cells from the bowels
Sure. Yeah.
of Silence of the Lambs. My fascination in psychological horror began with this film. I such a tense, creepy, uneasy vibe throughout this
Yeah.
entire movie that grips you in a way where you cannot look away, but there's a part of you that wants to the entire time.
Yeah. One of the few movies that won the Big Five. So you got Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Actress, and Screenplay. So yeah, it's a great fucking movie.
It's a great fucking movie, and good on it for being that. So we'll leave some for later down the road, but
Yeah, and what
masterpiece.
arguably
It's a masterpiece.
the only horror movie to win Best Picture.
And it's not even a horror movie, but yeah.
Yeah, it's not, but people call it that. My number 88 is a movie I've actually only seen once, just like the man. It's called The More the Merrier from 1943.
Okay.
This is one that I watched because I'm watching all the Best Picture nominees. It's just another romantic comedy from that era. It's just like complete escapism during the war years for America.
Okay.
Um, got one of my favorite actresses of the golden era, Jean Arthur. She's also in like Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and a bunch of other Frank Capra stuff. He's like, it's something about her. It's like mesmerizing to me for some reason. 'Cause
It's
it's not like she's not the most beautiful actress or anything. She's just like something about her is like really magnetic.
oh, I mean, I
Um,
have the exact same. You know, I have multiple women from that era that I just find so beyond the fact that yes, they're all gorgeous or whatever, but they have that quality about them that is mesmerizing is a perfect word for it.
yeah,
Where you just go, there's just something about this person that I need to see what they're doing.
yeah,
I need to experience this on screen.
yeah. And this is a movie like had I not just been going down the list of Best Picture, now I mean, I would have never watched this movie because literally I had never even heard of it.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm going into the sometimes when I'm looking up, I'm like, yeah, I've never even fucking heard of this movie, and I was like, okay, I mean, it's free on YouTube if you're interested in watching it. Like, that's how I watched it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it Gene Arthur, it's got Bill McRae, Charles Coburn, who won the Oscar for Best um, Supporting Actor in it. It's it's just like this fun premise of there's a shortage of housing in Washington D.C. during the war years, so she has to let out her room, a room in her apartment to Joel McRae. Then, oh no, to Charles Coburn, who's a gentleman, and then he lets out part of his room to Joel McRae. Then there's a love story between Joel McRae and Arthur. It's just a lot of fun.
Okay.
Um, Also, I wrote down this. I wanted to talk about. It's directed by George. I wanted to talk about this because the versatility of the directors back then is absolutely crazy. Like they did not just get pegged into like one single genre. Like it seems to be what modern directors do.
Yeah.
Because George Stevens, he directed romantic comedy, and the more the merrier. And then he directed like huge epics like Giant, which is
Yeah,
James Dean's
yeah.
last movie. Yeah.
1956
And
Giant, James Dean. He's an oil tycoon.
and then A Place in the Sun, which is good thriller with um Montgomery Clift. Yeah. It's just like so much more versatile than most directors nowadays.
I don't know if it's so much more versatility than directors. They were allowed to be more versatile back then.
True.
Because I
Well,
will say this is the studio system back then, to me, when I experience it in terms of watching it, is actors, a lot of them got cast to type. They didn't have as
actors,
much
yeah.
range.
Yeah.
Where the directors were the people that they trusted, and you had to be trusted. Once you were in, you could do whatever you wanted.
Well, I feel like they just had more confidence in themselves. They're just willing to take a risk and just go, yeah, I'll direct that. I can direct a romantic comedy.
Well,
Like,
I also think on top of that, there's the model was different. You know, where you didn't have home video release. You didn't have
yeah,
these movies weren't even for television. These were movies where you saw them on screen, and if you saw them again, you either paid to go see it again in its initial release, or you waited for a special screening.
yeah.
And then
Waited for it to come around again.
eventually they put movies on television, but it wasn't the case back then.
Yeah,
And so where now, if you wanted to, if you were talented enough, you could say, I'm going to be exclusively a horror director for Shudder. I'm just going to make movies for Shudder, and that's going to be my living, and that's what I'm going to do.
yeah. I just feel like directors nowadays they're not as they're not willing to take as many risks as uh,
Well, I think with
as at least all the great ones. Then, like they're just like,
I
yeah,
don't
I'm confident in myself.
I don't know if there's it's not fair because they don't get the chance to, but directors now aren't what they used to be. There's very
Oh,
few
definitely.
there's very few true movie directors left where you went, no, that's a because they made it so. Especially in a
Yeah,
Marvel era where you have previs to the point where half the movie's made for you already, or things of
yeah,
that nature. It was really refreshing. I just watched the making of Deadpool and Wolverine, and I was shocked at how much practical stuff they did. Which I was like, oh, okay, because I thought some of this was a lot more CGI than I thought, and how much this was truly a collaborative directing effort between Sean Levy, Ryan Reynolds, and the rest of the group that they've always been together with. And it was far less of the Marvel way where it went, well,
yeah,
this scene's been in production for 3 years in previs. You're like, well, so you just need me to put everybody in their spots and get the shot,
yeah.
not really put it together. So it was refreshing to see that. But now you have so many people that are trying to be directors that if you fuck up once, the likelihood of you getting another opportunity is
Yeah.
on a high level. If you fuck up once, it's very rare you're going to get another opportunity. Which is why it's so flabbergasting when we've gone through some movies and you see some of the writers that they choose or some of the directors that they choose, and you just go, how the fuck did you get this opportunity? You fucked up 7 times before this with not just like
Yeah,
mediocre movies, bad movies. How do you
yeah.
keep getting a job? Again, it goes back to the trust factor, but I think this the more the merrier sounds very much like a perfect example of old school director. We trust you, do what you want,
Hmm.
but interesting nonetheless. And free on YouTube sounds good. Always
Yep.
free on YouTube always sounds good. As YouTubers ourselves. Hold 1 second. Sorry for that. I know I was sounding froggy in the throat there. Had to cough. Had to cough. Okay. We're back with number 88 for myself here. 54th in 2006 in terms of box office is The Prestige, directed by Christopher Nolan. I think it's the most
A
under.
movie, yeah, a movie that used to be on my list, but did not make it.
I think it's one of the most underappreciated. I think it's the most underappreciated Nolan film. And
Oh, 100%.
the counterplay between Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale is just great. And the idea of the foundations of magic and how to do tricks as fodder for Christopher Nolan is just perfect. And he gets so many people to play with. Like, this is a star-studded cast. You know, Hugh Jackman, Christian Bale, Scarlett Johansson, David Bowie's in this fucking movie. It's like, what?
Yeah.
It's insane to think about some of the level of the casting. But this is the movie that turned me from. This was during the time I was exploring directors that I liked, or hey, I really liked that they did this. Maybe I should go try something else. This is the movie that made me a Christopher Nolan fan, not just a Batman fan for Christopher Nolan. I was so utterly impressed the first time I saw this film. I just went, why does no one talk about this movie? This movie's so fucking good.
Yeah, and still people don't really talk about it.
It, to me, this is a perfect gem that might just catch fire like 10 years from now when someone just, the right person on social media watches it and they're like, you ever seen this? And then people go watch it and they're like, holy shit. It's kind of like what we talk about with Zodiac, where I'm just hoping the right person eventually watches it and then it blows up like it should have in the
Yeah,
past. Because The Prestige is such an incredibly well made movie.
yeah, yeah, and it's weirdly like it's not meta in the movie itself, but it is meta in terms of like filmmaking is magic, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're pulling a magic trick, you're doing a reveal, which he does at the end of the movie. Like, yeah, it's sleight of hand. You're showing the audience one thing while trying to find to uh, hide the real trick.
Very much so.
Yeah. So I don't know if you mentioned this, Rebecca Hall. She's like such an underrated actress.
I love
Like,
Rebecca
she's
Hall.
fantastic.
I was so excited when she got cast in Iron Man 3 because I thought finally she's going to get to start playing in like big movies.
Yeah.
And then that movie didn't work out and then she's just kind of been lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
And it's so bothersome. Anytime an actor and actress that I love finally it's an opportunity it doesn't work out, I always get just bummed because I'm like, God damn it, they're really good. But she's incredible in that movie. The whole
Yeah.
cast is fucking great. It's truly just
Yeah.
great.
The the rivalry between Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman's great. Like you can feel the hatred between them.
Yes. It's two actors that know what's up and they know how to portray that perfect. It's so much fun to see them on screen with each other against each other. It's tremendous to see that. And I absolutely adore the chemistry between the two of them. It's so much fun. Take us to your 87.
All right. My number 87 is Shutter Island. A movie that
I'm a little
most
shocked it
people
made it at this point, just because I remember the last time we talked about it, you didn't seem like you were as enthused.
it's a movie I always have said is an underrated Scorsese movie, even though most people seem to think that it's not that great. Um, yeah, I mentioned this in the Oscars review for that year, which I think is 2010.
Yep.
I want to say, um, it's a movie that is actually better when you know the reveal because you know why he's making all the filmmaking choices that he is.
Yes.
Like it makes more sense when you know the reveal at the end, which is unfortunate. But also like if you're watching it for the story, and yes, it's less rewarding on a rewatch. It's kind of like The Sixth Sense, but
Yeah.
in terms of the filmmaking choices, where it's like really disjointed, and it's like you're in the mind of like someone who's just like cannot pull together coherency.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you're like, what the fuck is going on? Why is this happening?
Oh yeah. No, it's an interesting movie to watch. I do enjoy Shutter Island. I think it's a fun movie. It's there's just something off about it. I think it's the easiest way to say it. There's just something off about it. And when we talked about this earlier and you're like, well, it makes a lot more sense on second viewing in terms of why the choices were made, not so much the story. Obviously, any story should make more sense the second time you watch it than the first. But it's an interesting vibe to say the least. And there's a lot of good acting in it. It's not a bad movie. I think the
Yeah, fantastic. You
I
got Leo, you got Mark Ruffalo, you got Ben Kingsley, Ed Levine again.
Michelle Williams is in that movie. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a good cast and it's an interesting vibe. It's I think it's just yes. People think it's bad because the expectations are here because it's Scorsese with DiCaprio. And then it turns out
yes,
here because people are like, well, they were given everything. It's kind of like that classic
yeah,
football analogy, you know. This team's a Super Bowl team. They missed the playoffs at like 9-8 after a bad injury. One of the worst teams I've ever seen. It's like, no, they were still kicking ass even though they lost a quarterback in week 2. It's just our expectations for them were here and we ended here.
yeah. It's also kind of just in my wheelhouse of things I like, where it's
Yes.
like a prison on a remote island, and you have flashbacks to World War II, and then them shoot Nazis and stuff. It's fun.
Psychological thriller with Leonardo DiCaprio and Martin Scorsese. Yeah, this just screams Dylan friendly.
Yeah,
I still remember when we watched this movie in the theater too. So it's
yeah.
it's
Yep.
good. It was a good experience. I'll stay in spooky vibes, but not in the same realm nearly as much as Shutter Island. For my 87, 1993, 38th highest grosser, Hocus Pocus. Quintessential
Fun movie.
quintessential Halloween watching in the Nels and Davies household. Love the old witch and Halloween motifs in the film, and it's a great setting for a kid's spooky movie. I don't know what it was about the early 90s, but they just kept making, as we said, spooky movies for kids, where they just
Yeah.
kept going to the well. They just went, kids like to be scared. Like, let's just keep throwing stuff at it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like,
In 93 alone, it's Hocus Pocus, Adam's Family Values, Nightmare Before Christmas. You're also bookended with other stuff nearby where you had like the Adams Family 2 years ago prior to that. You had Casper 2 years from that. You had Goosebumps coming out. You had all these things that were just like, kids like this shit.
yeah.
Just make this shit.
The funny thing is, I think part of the reason why those movies feel so different than like modern movies do, where is because it kind of looks grungy, you know?
Yeah.
It looks low. It looks like low budget because it's shot on low budget film.
Yeah.
So it's like movies nowadays just look so clean because you can shoot a low budget film on a camera that is still quality,
Yeah.
though your budget is, a micro budget.
Yeah. It's an interesting vibe. I just think it's a perfect setting for a kids movie. And
Yeah.
I don't think that era of movie and TV gets enough credit for fostering the age group that it founded. And
Yeah.
it obviously there's always been a contingent that loves horror movies, right? But this just bred an entire generation of people that just went horror should just be part of life. Not you had to be part of the in clique to go watch it kind of thing. It just very much feels like this era was just like, well, let's get them ready with spooky season, and then when they're ready, let's scare the shit out of them later. It's just what
Yeah.
it feels like. And I know that, people, Gen Xers would probably say, no, 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 like you don't get this, and that. And I didn't live that, so I understand it. But it is amazing the 3 to 4 years before, during, and after my birth are just tailor made for a kid to like spooky horror shit. It is wild to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so much
It's
fun.
another movie that one of my favorite words to describe a movie is cozy.
Yep.
It's a cozy little spooky
It's
movie.
a cozy little spooky movie. It is indeed. And just a lot of fun, and also a pretty decent cast for a movie that's
Yeah.
also the only bitch I have about this movie. It's not the movie. It's the studio. It's because Disney Disney finally had a hit, finally had 2 hits, and they're like, we're not fucking this up. And so Nightmare Before Christmas
Yeah.
and Hocus Pocus are both Touchstone Pictures because they didn't want to put the Disney stamp, but then magically it started making money hand over fist in Hot Topic, and now both are Disney movies. I'm like, fuck off! You guys didn't even want this movie to start.
Yeah. It's a shame that the sequel is absolute garbage too.
Oh god, that's why I never wanted it.
Another
You
it's
can't
another thing, yeah.
it's so
It's another thing
hard
where
to capture the
just leave
coziness
these
of a movie.
properties alone.
And that's the thing is, I love the idea, just because I associate them so closely because they're the same year, same era. I like the idea of ancillary work being based off. I have no problem if you want to make a book, make a comic, make a video game. I don't give a fuck, because they're different mediums, different stories. I have no issue when Nightmare Before Christmas started doing uh, sequel books, or they had a video game. I was like, that's perfect. It's a perfect world to play in. That's great. But don't make a direct sequel. The magic is the magic, and as selfishly as much as I'd love to be able to revisit that world with something new on film, I never want to do that though, because the likelihood that the magic is captured is this this
Yeah.
capability. So
People don't seem to understand the lightning in the bottle thing anymore. But
IPs, man, they rule the world. That's all it is.
yeah, it's unfortunate.
All right, take us to your 86.
Uh I-86 is Django Unchained.
Okay. First entry for Tarantino.
Yep. It's my second favorite Tarantino movie.
Okay.
So there'll be one more Tarantino on the list for me a little later on. Yeah, it's just fun to watch Jamie Foxx kill a bunch of racist slave owning assholes. It's just fun.
It is.
Yeah.
Christoph Waltz is really enjoyable in that movie.
Yeah, he's great.
I don't think people
Won a
understand.
second Oscar in a Tarantino movie.
I don't think people understand how important Django is to Leonardo DiCaprio. Because it just felt like Leonardo DiCaprio can never. They won't do it. They won't give it to him. And when you have Wolf of Wall Street and Django Unchained like back to back, to where
Yeah, people said he got snubbed, that he didn't get a nomination for Django.
I
But
agree. I think a supporting actor is perfect for
well, that's the thing is they nominated Jamie Foxx for Best Actor, and then they nominated Christoph
Christoph.
Waltz for Best Supporting Actor, which is arguable that he's actually just a co-lead,
Yeah.
not really a supporting actor in that fucking movie.
Right. It's just to take Leonardo DiCaprio, who at that time, not that he didn't play complex characters that had dislikable traits. I'm not saying he never did that. But he's almost always in the hero root for you role
Yeah.
for the past decade prior to Django. And then he plays the most heinous motherfucker possible. And it was a great reminder to people of don't take him for granted. He's so
Yeah.
fucking incredible that he can take you, someone who loves Leonardo DiCaprio, and go, I hate this man. I despise this man with every fiber of my being. And that right there is acting.
Yeah. And Samuel L. Jackson as like the Uncle Tom house slave
Oh
is great.
God, he's so good in that as well. He
Yeah.
is incredible in that role. Just talk about a
Yeah.
great way to do this.
Yeah, we talked about it. I can't remember which episode of the podcast we talked about it, where someone asked if he found the character offensive, and then Samuel L. Jackson said no because he's the artist character in the movie.
Yeah,
It's it is true. Like he's pretty much the detective solving everything in that movie.
yeah, it's an interesting vibe, and another reason why you'll always see Samuel Jackson working with Quentin Tarantino. And I don't know if it's possible for them to not work together in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and
and
go ahead.
the shootout at the end with the bloody squibs is just fun to watch.
It is indeed. It's very fun. I'll spoil it right now. Not a single Tarantino movie on my list.
Eh,
Tarantino is one of those directors that everyone puts in the Evan must love, and I do. My favorite of Tarantino's work is Hateful Eight, and it's just missed the cut.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I enjoy
'Cause-
Django. I enjoy Inglourious Bastards. Pulp Fiction's obviously very for me.
yeah. Oh, I'll spoil it now. Pulp Fiction's not on my list.
Yeah, that's the thing. Pulp Fiction just constantly gets talked about as the Tarantino masterpiece.
Yeah.
I like 3 or 4 of his movies more than I like Pulp Fiction.
You.
All right. 86 for me. I'm going old school. It's my first big old school entry. Number 1 at the box office for 1939. It is The Wizard of Oz.
Used to be on my list. It no longer is.
Movie magic, baby. This is more of a holiday movie to me because of the TBS marathons than the vast majority of any holiday or Christmas movie. This is The Wizard of Oz is very cozy to me. I adore
Oh yeah.
Wizard of Oz. And it's in a similar vein in my brain to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where it's so obvious why didn't someone do this beforehand? But it's still hard to pull off. And it's this wonderful
Yeah.
little adventure story of friendship and character building. But just I love, obviously it's super on the nose. It's 1939, it's super on the nose. But I love Dust Bowl, Kansas getting turned into beautiful color Oz. And it's
Yeah.
essentially this dream of Dorothy's. And I love everything about it.
Yeah. There's a lot of great breakdowns on YouTube of like effects and stuff with like the tornado it's just that's the type of filmmaking I just love. Where it's all practical and they had just had to figure it out. It's just so awesome
It's
how they did everything back then.
oh yeah, and you had to be creative because you didn't have a choice.
Yeah. So the scene where she's in black and white, and then she steps out into the colorful Oz.
Yeah,
It's just literally a set that's painted in black and white, and a double of Dorothy painted in black and white, and then
that's
and then
wild.
then the actual actress walks out in color into a color set. It's so great.
It's magic. I think that's the
Yeah,
first. That's one of the first movies I remember watching in my life and just going, "This is magic." There's just something so appealing and wonderful about this film. There's a reason it holds up to the point where people are obsessed with Wicked and people are obsessed with Oz characters to the point where Oz characters constantly keep showing up every 5 to 10 years in properties because there's just something indelibly special about them. And Judy
Yeah.
Garland's tremendous in this. It's very sad,
She's
but
great.
it's very sad to learn a lot of the behind the scenes how
Oh,
so
she has
many.
a she has a tragic life.
Well, she has a tragic life. Four of the principal players all are physically damaged beyond repair because of the techniques used at the time. Where Judy Garland is given like growth suppressant drugs and is starved, and
Yeah, like pretty much from when she was a kid, she been abused
yeah,
by just like the entire industry.
yeah.
Just like ate her up. It's really tragic.
And it's so
Yeah.
sad to see that because this is a piece of art that brings so much joy to millions of people, and then to know the consequences of making it for some of them, it's so sad. But it in some ways it also makes the art more special because you know that what they went through at least paid off in the artistic way. It's still not worth it. I want to make that very clear. But I know I think it's Margaret Hamilton plays the Wicked Witch. She essentially is like poisoned from the body paint
Oh,
beyond
yeah, that's not
belief.
good.
The Scarecrow, I believe, also had problems that like he was physically injured beyond repair.
I know that. Yeah, I know the Tin Man. They had to switch up uh, the paint because it was
Same deal.
like
Yeah, they
yeah.
were. It's wild to think about what some of them went through
One of
to
the
make that
yeah,
film.
and one of the great things about the Wizard of Oz is like it doesn't matter what age you are. Like a 4-year-old or a 90-year-old loves the Wizard of Oz.
Oh yeah, no, The Wizard of Oz is a movie that I would feel comfortable watching with anybody. You know, if you said, "Hey, show the kids something new," I'd be like, "Let's watch The Wizard of Oz." Same deal if hey, your grandma's gonna actually sit down and watch a movie for once, but what do you want to watch? I'd be like, "Oh, let's put on Wizard of Oz." It's
Yeah,
a worthwhile film. It's an incredible piece of art, and it's truly
yeah.
an inspiring piece of magic on movies. I love The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. Also came out in one of the greatest years of all time, 39. It, I'm convinced it would have won Best Picture had one of the biggest movies of all time not come out the same year, Gone with the Wind,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate because I don't like that movie, but I wish Wizard of Oz would have won. But
In
yeah,
watching it, I enjoy Wizard of Oz more than I like Gone with the Wind, so I understand that.
yes, yeah, Wizard of Oz, all time classic, undeniably great.
Undeniably great. Alrighty. And Flying Monkeys. Fucking
Yeah.
love it. Alright, take us to your 85.
I-85 is a movie I know you haven't seen. It's The Shawshank Redemption.
That's correct. I've said that many a time on this show, on the
Yeah,
perpetual list of one day I'll watch it, but I don't think I need to
yeah.
anymore.
I'll just go like 10 seconds on it. Best Picture nominee of 94. I think it's in the top 3 on IMDb of best movies, on the top 250. Yeah, everyone knows it. It's great. Morgan Freeman's awesome.
The stereotypical white boy
Tim
of
Robbins, great.
the stereotypical white boy of the millennial generation will tell you it's the greatest movie ever made.
True. It is not, but it is good.
And that is truly what Shawshank is known for at this point. Is every person named Chad somehow thinks it's the greatest movie ever made.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like it's unfortunate that it is kind of got that reputation, but
It's how it goes, unfortunately, sometimes. 85. I'm going to stick in the same decade. A couple years later, though, going to 1999. It's the 18th highest grossing film of the year. It's Sleepy Hollow. It's a newer addition to my love for Tim Burton catalog, but a Sleepy Hollow legend with a Tim Burton spin. Sign me up every damn time. I love Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow's a vibe. I love
talk about a
vibes.
fucking stacked cast too.
Are, that cast is insane when you actually
I know
look at
it
it on
is
paper.
crazy.
because it's one of those that you like. The thing is this: they're all by themselves, especially at the time, kind of understated.
Well, they're all like character actors.
But then you look, and they all have these super important or iconic franchises or roles to their resume that you just go, God damn, this is a great cast. I mean,
Yeah,
Johnny Depp, Christina Ricci, Miranda Richardson, Christopher Walken, Michael Goff, Ian McDermott, like Michael Gambon. Like it just keeps going and going
yeah,
and going and going. It's
yeah,
incredible.
Richard Griffiths. Um, I'm blanking on his name. Ferris Bueller, uh, principal.
Yeah, Vernon something I want to say Vernon Wells or something like that.
Um, yeah, it's it, it it's just a bunch
F-
of people where you
frequent Tim
see
Burton collaborator.
his face and well, it's all that guy. See their faces. Go, I know that guy.
Yes. The amount of times in a movie, the first time you watch Sleepy Hollow, that you go, I know that guy. I know that guy.
Yeah,
I know her. I know him. Like
yeah,
it's incredible. It's a stacked cast, but they're all just playing characters, and none of them are playing to type either. They're all just kind of just playing characters and making it work, and it's great. It's so enjoyable. And it's a movie I think just ages. It's one of the Tim Burton movies that ages super well because it's just its own thing. So even though so many movies of that era, you just go, my God, this is painfully 90s now. Sleepy Hollow doesn't
oh,
get that because it's just of its own world.
Jeffrey Jones is.
Jeffrey Jones, thank you.
Oh, another person we didn't mention, Christopher Lee's in there just for a
Oh,
little bit.
yeah. I always forget Christopher Lee's in there for a hair. I mean, Tim Burton, anytime he can get Christopher Lee, he will take him. So, and I'm
I
happy
don't blame
anytime I
him.
see Christopher Lee. Christopher Lee is
Yeah,
amazing. I wish we got.
yeah.
I was so thrilled. There's one scene at the end of War of the Rohirrim, the new Lord of the Rings movie, where they show the relations between Saruman and Rohan before Saruman fully reveals the turn to being evil, and it's original dialogue from Christopher Lee being used, and just hearing his voice, I was like, they didn't do this, did they? And then the credits, it's like, no, this is Christopher Lee. I was like, I'm so fucking happy right now.
Yeah.
I love Christopher Lee, but I just the entire vibe. Sleepy Hollow is a vibe. If it's not your vibe, it's it's
Yeah, that's true.
it's not
You're
gonna be your
either
thing.
gonna love it or you're not gonna like it.
But if you love that vibe, Sleepy Hollow is tailor made for you.
Production design is absolutely great in that.
Incredible production design.
Yeah, I don't really love like the look of it because it's just like all that black and white kind of monochrome look.
I kind of love it. It just works for
Yeah,
me for that
exactly.
movie.
That that the look of it, you either dig that or you don't.
Yeah.
Um, and then you have it's kind of Sweeney Todd style too, where it's like all black and white monochrome, and the blood is like dark red
Yeah. He's
with
playing with some fun. He's playing
yeah,
with some
where
fun here.
the scene where Johnny Depp like is axing the tree and it's like spraying up into his
Oh,
face and
what a
shit.
fun scene, dude. What so
Yeah,
much fun. I love Sleepy Hollow.
yeah.
You'll be
Yeah,
shocked
I
I'm a Tim
really
Burton fan.
I really admire that it still is like just getting weird,
hmm
and I love it.
I think again it's unapologetically itself. And you like it or you don't, but they don't, unfortunately, from a mainstream perspective, we don't get a ton of movies like that. I wish we got more
Exactly, and
movies like this who are just unapologetic. This is what it is. If you don't like it, that's
that's the
okay.
thing about Tim Burton that I think he's really lost is like this doesn't go weird anymore, which is like inherently to be.
And when he does go weird, I think Beetlejuice is a very good
But
Tim
I
Burton
I
movie.
still have not seen that. So
I enjoy Beetlejuice quite a bit. And it's a good return to, in my opinion, of Tim getting to play in a Tim Burton world. But yeah, there's a lot of more modern Tim Burton stuff that people have been crying for years of when he does get weird in those movies, it feels oddly placed. Like why did we do this here? As opposed to just being, this is what it is. This is the story. You either love it or you hate it, and it's okay. You just kind of like it's a sanitized version of him that's not super appealing. But
Yeah,
Sleepy Hollow is not that. Sleepy Hollow is still great. I
yeah,
fucking love it.
a lot of fun.
A lot of
My number 84, fittingly, is the 1984 Best Picture winner, Amadeus. I haven't seen it.
You haven't
One of
seen
the
Amadeus?
Oh, you haven't.
I haven't seen it. Okay.
It's a long movie. I'll admit that. It's 3 hours, probably about maybe just under that.
Having never seen
Um,
it, even I could tell you it's a long fucking movie.
yeah, yeah, it is long. But F. Murray Abraham gives like great performance. One of the best performances of the 80s. I don't know how to say his name. Tom Hulse or Tom. Yeah.
I know who you're
He
talking about.
plays. Yeah, he plays Mozart in it. He's great. Plays him as like this petulant, like childlike Mozart, which is a lot of fun. And he's just like clowning around. 'Cause I actually assume that's what Mozart probably was like because he was so talented from a young age that it's like that's like all these things are easy. Making music is easy to him,
Yeah.
which is how he plays it. And then F. Murray Abraham is Salieri, who's another composer. He just gets so frustrated with Mozart that he's just like he wants to be talented like him, but he just can't be.
It's the classic, not necessarily, I don't know if they have this relationship or not, but it's the classic coach or teacher role where you see your student has so much more potential and skill than you ever have, but
Yeah,
you have the love and dedication that they don't, and you just get
yeah.
so pissed because you're like, if I had what you had, the sky would be the limit for me, but you don't fucking have that.
It's F. Murray Abraham's just great in that movie. Uh, I don't think seems to be kind of a curmudgeon asshole kind of guy in real life, but
A lot of people
great
are.
actor.
A lot of people
Yeah.
are, unfortunately. Long watch. I'll give you another long watch. I'll go from 84 to 94. Second in the box office is Forrest Gump. Love me some Forrest Gump. I
Yeah.
assume this is higher on your list.
It is not on my list. Used
Wow.
to be actually, you know what? I'm gonna look back while we talk about it
All
because
right.
I'll find
I'll
it.
give you my blurb.
But
I love the trip through time in the lens of the everyman. I think it's told probably best here with Forrest Gump. And when Forrest finds out about Little Forrest, it's waterworks every time.
that's the scene that I think wins Tom Hanks the Oscar because that's an amazing
I have
bit
tears
of
welling up
acting.
right now just thinking about that scene.
Yeah.
And Robin Wright is so damn good in that movie. You know you
Her
have to be
character,
good because Jenny as a
character's
character
not.
sucks. She's
I was gonna
awful.
say her character's not very likable, but yeah, she's
But
great.
Robin Wright makes her likable, makes her sympathetic. That's it. It's a huge achievement. Forrest Gump is a movie I kind of came to later in life and just went, why was I avoiding this movie for so long? It's so fucking good. And almost any chance I can, I'm like, oh, Forrest Gump? Cool, I'll watch Forrest Gump.
Yeah. So it was in my list. It got as high as 52, but now it's not on my list anymore. Also, I this is not a movie you would assume this for, but it also has a lot of underrated visual effects
Yes, it does.
with where they have to insert Tom Hanks into all the historical footage. It's done so well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Um,
mean, we talked about in our first Oscars episode where the visual effects are so understated, but
yeah,
numerous.
yeah, they're just like hiding in plain sight.
Yeah. They're doing exactly what visual effects are supposed to do. Seamless. Can't
Yeah,
tell. Forrest Gump is so good.
Gary Sinise is great as
Sally Field's also tremendous as Forrest's mother.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah. There's a
just
lot of scenes that I I would be curious because I haven't actually watched it in quite a long time actually. Because yeah, I cry a lot during movies. I bet I would cry a lot during.
well, the craziest part is Forrest Gump covers some really, really hard pieces of history, but it is
Yeah,
such an optimistic film.
yeah.
It's just all just the triumph of the human spirit.
Well, yeah.
I love it.
It's just a simple person stumbling backwards through history, like
And yet,
haphazardly,
and this
really.
it amazes me how often you notice new stuff. Because when you're first watching Forrest Gump, you're not paying attention as much as you probably should.
Yeah,
And I remember the first time watching this as an adult, and there's the there's the scene where Sally Field takes Forrest to school, and he's like, "You're gonna take him." He's like, "No." The principal's like, "No." And then the next scene is him coming out of the house. He's like, your mama really loves you." And the first time you're not paying attention, you're like, "What?" And then as an adult, you're like, "Oh shit, okay." Like
yeah,
she's just sleeping with him and doing apparently a really good job to make sure
yeah,
her son gets an education. Holy
yeah.
fuck.
I know the common critique nowadays is that it's overly sentimental, but honestly, at this point, that's what I want in my movies. I
I
want
don't I don't think
sentimental.
I don't think it's overly sentimental. I think much like you've said in a couple of the past episodes, everyone's so fucking jaded and everyone had we said this specifically about Deadpool
Yeah,
in the prior episode or 2 episodes ago, whatever it was, where you don't like Deadpool, not because of Deadpool, the movie itself, but because it ushers in this era of you have to take the piss out of everything.
yes,
Sometimes the moment can just be emotional because the moment's emotional. Just let it
yeah.
be that.
I I'm to the point where I want movies to be sentimental, earnest, and sincere. Like I want that in movies because yeah, it's to the point where movies don't do that often now.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Tremendous. Tremendous movie.
great movie.
Take us to your 83.
94 Best Picture winner.
Yep.
Um, Our High Waters, my 83.
Interesting. You were talking this up quite a bit on our Oscars episode.
Great movie. Uh, Chris Pine and Ben Foster play. I think they're brothers. Yeah, they're brothers who rob banks as they're trying to pay off like this, pretty much like a dirt farm. I think it's uh yeah.
On brand.
It's
This is a period
it,
piece or like what is this?
no, it's a modern movie. I think it's Texas. It's it's definitely like the desert. And then
Sure.
you have Jeff Bridges as the cop who's like trying to hunt down. Ben
Uh
Foster's like the asshole brother who's like, you know, uh more typical the Jeremy Renner in the town kind of bank
gotcha.
robber.
Gotcha.
And then yeah, Chris
No
Pine's like
no
the
remorse, no reason, just I'm doing it because
yeah,
I can.
yeah. And then Chris Pine's like much more down to earth, but it's more grounded than I would expect.
Hmm.
Where kind of like the town is, where so much fun, but it's still you're still rooting for bank robbers because they're doing it for a good cause.
Yeah.
Because like they're getting screwed over by the banks. So it's like,
So you're like,
yeah,
yeah, fuck
fuck.
Big Brother. Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah, you're like fuck the bank. I don't give a fuck about those people.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is just
there seems to be a lot of movies, especially in the modern era of fuck the man. We just don't care. If you heard that story, just baseline, you'd be like, wow, those guys fucking suck. But then
yeah,
you see some of the like reasoning behind it, and you go, nah, I buy it. I mean, shit, we're
yeah,
living through it right now in a very prominent news story as of recording. Luigi Mangione, which we don't need to go super into, but the very callous reaction of the internet after someone gets assassinated should tell you a lot about how the world feels about stuff right now. So, yeah, Hell or High Water, it's pretty speaks to that. Speaks to the
yeah,
we're sick of being fucking trampled as human beings. Can we just treat each other with
yeah,
some fucking respect and dignity? God damn.
yeah. It shows a lot of like true where it's like people who are jaded to life, like not. It's a lot more complicated.
Yeah.
Where it's like Chris Pine's talking to his son, and it's just like their relationship is just you can tell it's like distant, and he just has like no relationship with him.
Yeah. This tough
But
stuff.
it's like, yeah, it's like it feels a lot more real. So it's it's a good watch.
Fair. Fair. I'll take you to something completely different. 1993, 28th, the box office. It's the Addams Family Values. Just let me read the blurb here.
I was gonna
Wednesday,
say I have not seen this movie.
Wednesday Addams, Wednesday Addams, Wednesday Addams. I've been in love with this character from the moment I saw her as a child. This movie is her time to shine, and I'm fucking here for it. Let Wednesday cook. I know this is not the most popular of the 90s Addams Family movies.
Is the camp one?
Yep.
Okay, I have seen this, but it's when I was a kid.
This
So yeah,
this movie understood. This is what I love about that franchise or those two movies, because I don't know if you can call it a franchise really. Those two movies. It started a franchise of stuff though. Was the first one is very much Gomez, Morticia, Fester focused. Wednesday's always shown to be really intelligent and really important, but she's not the focus of the movie. In the second one, it is so abundantly clear that they just went, we have gold and we're striking. We
yeah,
do not care. So the central focus of the movie is essentially Fester marries, a Black Widow who's constantly killing her husband for money. And the only one that can figure it out immediately is Wednesday, and that's why they're sent off to camp. But it's just Christina Ricci getting to be Wednesday and cooking throughout this entire movie. Is it the greatest movie of all time? No. Do I give a fuck? Absolutely not. I fucking adore this movie beyond belief. And it is so beloved in my heart. So as I said in my blurb, this is Wednesday Addams. Let Wednesday cook. I This movie understands the strength is Christina Ricci as Wednesday, and they just let her go. I,
she used to be pretty young in those movies.
yeah, she's still
Young
at.
teenager, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, she's Spooky Girl. It's what she is. She's just
Yeah,
Wednesday, then she's Wednesday, then she's in Casper, then she's in Sleepy Hollow, then she gets more horror movie roles, and
yeah.
but she's also such a talented young woman throughout, where you
She
can
is.
tell
She's very talented.
that she doesn't do much anymore, and I wish she did. I'd be really interested to see her join even like a smaller franchise somewhere. Just let her, because I know it was a big deal when they. I've still yet to, as much as I love Wednesday Addams the character, I have yet to watch the Wednesday Addams Netflix series, which is crazy because like, oh, it's Tim Burton taking on Wednesday and the Addams Family. That's like tailor made for me.
Yeah.
But it got so popular so quickly that I just went, let me let it die down. When I have the chance, I'll go watch it then. But it was a bit. Even I was so tickled when I saw, oh shit, they actually got Christina Ricci to come play. It's like, yes, it's awesome. I'm so glad. But I just wish she would do more. She's such an enjoyable actress to watch.
Yeah. I, that's the type of actress I'd love to see in a miniseries, like
Yeah,
The Haunting of Hill House kind of thing.
she'd be fun for that. She'd be enjoyable for that. But
Yeah.
just she did Monster, was it with Charlize Theron? Or
Yeah. Yep.
and then I'm not saying she disappeared. She still did stuff, but that was like whoa, and then she just kind of flitted off into the wind for a while. Did other stuff.
Eh. Yeah, I mean, maybe she just aged out of stuff. Is
Maybe.
my that's my best guess.
Yeah, I
Or-
just don't know. She just kind of disappeared. She went from being like, "Oh
Yeah,
wow, she's always around" to she's never here. I think she
yeah,
would
it's
be
weird.
I think she'd be great in a lot of just being an ancillary player in a franchise could do a lot of good for her. Like, I love her I love an idea of her being like, I'm just going to play in my wheelhouse quick, but I love the idea of her playing like a Barbara Gordon in Batman where she's Oracle. Where she's kind of running things and she's the tech expert and she's super intelligent. I think she'd be great for that style of role. Where like she's super prominent, but she may not be the main focus of the movie kind of thing. But I think that would open up a lot of stuff for her. God, I wish I saw more Christina Ricci. Clearly, I love this woman. So, um, just let Wednesday cook. That's what I'm here for in Adam's Family. Take us to 82.
82 is Hereditary.
All right. I was wondering where it was going to show up.
So this is the movie that when I watched it for the first time scared me the most. I
Huh.
was terrified when I watched.
I was not scared at all when I watched Hereditary. Maybe it was just overhyped to me.
But when did you watch it? Was it completely dark by
Th-
yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really creeped out by it.
I don't know what it was. I didn't get those vibes. Because I remember you going off a couple episodes when we were doing Oscars 14 to 18. You went off. You're like Hereditary was robbed, which I think it's a great movie. So I'm not saying you're wrong, but I did not get the scary vibes to the point where I'm like, I just didn't get that night.
Yeah.
Watched it.
I mean, scary is one of those things that is completely subjective. So
Yeah, true.
it's either scary to you or it's not.
I mean,
So
I certainly had a holy shit when the younger sister dies. I went holy fuck, like
oh yeah.
I can't believe they did that shit. I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a shocking moment.
Well, you don't see it coming because it's just kind of like, what is it? Bam! You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of like it's good subtle filmmaking, which A24 is always like that is the studio for that nowadays,
Yeah,
where it's not going to be like jump scare city.
yeah.
They're actually going to build up tension and stuff. But yeah, when like uh Tony Collette's like up on the ceiling, it that scared the fuck out of me. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a bit wild to say the least. Yeah,
yeah.
Hereditary's a
And
good movie.
she's like completely insane in that. It's fantastic how good she is.
Oh yeah, Tony Collette's a tremendous actress. Tremendous.
Yeah, she's good in everything, honestly.
She was one of those people that I never really was intrigued by. Then just slowly
Same.
she was in stuff that I started watching, and I was like, she's fucking good. And every time I see her, I just go, she's really fucking good. And it just I
Yeah.
keep getting more and more and more respect for her. But she just generally doesn't pick projects that first run, I'm like, oh, gotta see that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting. It's a good movie nonetheless. I'll go to one of the movies we also just talked about in our Oscars 14 to 18 episode. 49th in the box office this year, but it's most people would probably say is the best work of this director, Grand Budapest Hotel.
Ooh, we're gonna be talking about that way later again. Um,
So it is not my favorite Wes Anderson movie. I am a big fan of Wes Anderson, and I enjoy a lot of his work. Even the stuff that may not be in my top 100, I'm still like, it's fun. I enjoy it. Like I love
yeah.
Rushmore. Uh, we're going to talk about some more throughout, but I think this is just a genius work of writing, acting, and quirky thoughts coming all together. And to me, this is the most likable Ray Fiennes has ever been. Is in Grand Budapest.
I love Ray Fiennes in this fucking movie. He's so good.
He's so
He
good.
like when they're like manhandling uh the lead,
Yeah,
he's yelling at him, "Get your hands off my lobby boy!" Like
exactly.
it's so good. It's awesome.
It's
Everything,
tremendous.
yeah. The dialogue. That's why I love this movie. That's why it's my favorite of Wes Anderson. Is because the dialogue is like way more unique than other Wes Anderson movies.
This movie is a writer's movie. This is a movie that writers go, God, I fucking love this movie because
Yeah,
it's
like
it's words on the page getting brought to life and a lot of fun.
yeah. It- and it's another part where it's just like peak filmmaking that you wouldn't see in other movies. That like the ski scene where it looks completely like it doesn't look real, but it's like who fucking cares?
It's one of my favorite scenes out of that
Yeah,
movie. I love it. We'll save some stuff for later, but Grand Budapest
yeah.
Hotel is my 82. Finish this off on your list with 81, and then we'll finish on
I
mine.
81 is another movie I discovered this last year. Um, first time watch. It is Duck Soup from
Ducks.
1933, Marx Brothers. This is the only Marx Brothers movie I have ever seen. Um,
Yeah, I
I
don't
was
know.
at
I don't know if I've ever seen a Marx movie.
yeah, because like the Marx Brothers are one of those things that like just get so hyped up to you. Like
Maybe not even
they're
so hyped up. It's just they're always talked about because they're one of the indelible things of the time that everybody knows the
well,
name
it's like
Marx.
well, it's like Charlie Chaplin and it's like Harold Lloyd and all the island actors.
Yeah, Buster Keaton. Like, yeah, it's
Yeah. So it's like one of those things that like pretty much it's never gonna live up to a hype.
yeah.
And that's why Duck Soup was like a pleasant surprise to me. Because I was like actually laughing out loud at points. Like it
Okay.
is hilarious at times. There's one scene where it's like a fake mirror scene where they have to act like it's a mirror, and it's fucking impressive how long it goes on. Like,
Okay.
uh, yeah, because it's two of them doing choreography, trying to do the same exact thing,
Okay.
and it goes on for like, probably like 2 minutes, and I can't imagine how many
It's a
takes
commitment
it
to the
took to
bit.
do. Yeah, it had to take a lot of time to actually get that.
Hey man,
Um,
commitment to the bit. Commitment to the bit.
yeah. There's like some like political satire stuff in it, which is a lot of fun.
Okay.
It,
Duck
it
soup, huh?
reminded, yeah, it reminded me a lot of another movie I love, The Great Dictator with Charlie Chaplin,
Yeah.
which is just like a complete takedown of Hitler,
Yeah.
which is awesome.
Just taking the piss right out of him. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it was a pleasant surprise because I was like, I don't know if this could ever live up to everything I've heard about the Marx Brothers.
Sure.
So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I think it's really enjoyable to occasionally get that dose of silent. movie going where you just go,
And this isn't a silent movie,
but you're getting silent era stars coming to play.
yeah.
And that's why I remember being in a film class in college and all of a sudden we watched Buster Keaton. I just went, this still works. Holy fuck, this still works.
Yeah.
Okay.
The general is legitimately a good movie.
Yeah, so it's fun to get to play in those worlds, and that's why I think that's to me what these lists are more important for. Is you can kind of start going, what kind of moviegoer am I? What do I like? What do I not like? What do I care about? What do I not care about? And you can kind of see like, oh, I've always wanted to be more into X, but then you look and you're like, well, I don't really do that.
Yeah. And who knows? This movie could completely fall off the list. It could climb. I've only seen it once. It's
Some
just when I was making this list, I was like, yeah,
oh, I'm
I
about to
really
go.
like that movie.
I'm going to share your sentiments, and I'm going to go to a movie I've only seen once. 2004, 112th at the box office, mind you.
Ooh.
But we talked about this in our Oscars episodes. That'd be The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou.
Wow. 112th?
112th.
I would have thought just name recognition alone it would have done better.
So, here's my blurb for it. Pretty much a tie with the previous, but tie goes to Bill Murray. It's the first real ensemble of greatness for Wes Anderson that is just incredulously good. Where you get so many great actors for him to play with.
Yeah. See, the problem is I don't love Bill Murray like everyone else does.
I know, you're not a Bill Murray guy like I am.
That's why I like Grand Budapest more.
Bill Murray just gets me. It gets me. And it will not be the last appearance for Mr. Murray on my list. Don't you fucking worry. But the total ensemble of absurdity in this movie, and like you said with the ski scene in Grand Budapest, all the just abundantly so obvious, it's hilarious, bad aquatic scenes when they're like looking for creatures and stuff. I love it because it's just, how do we do this with no budget? What if we just did this? Yeah, that'd be funny. Okay.
Yeah, and that's the thing I love about Wes Anderson. It's just like he's just unapologetically him.
Yeah.
Like he does not care. He'll just do whatever he wants.
And that's why people like his movies. People are Wes Anderson fans because they just go, he's told a story. Who cares? Who cares? Did you get it? Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. Like, does it look real? Oh, but do you understand what he's doing? Yeah. So who fucking cares?
and he does it in such a comedic way. But yet every movie he has, what's funny is I think a lot of people who aren't big supporters of his would probably say that he kind of just takes the piss out of all the moments. But yet all of his movies are so heartfelt. They always just have a real touch of heart and class to them where you know this is people caring, making something they care about. That's what I always love about Wes Anderson is I love when Edward Norton's talked about working with Wes Anderson. He's like, I've never made any money working with Wes Anderson. I lose money when I work with Wes Anderson. I do it because I love it. He's like, I barely get paid. Half the time I have to pay more to get to where we're going to do half the shit than I'm getting paid for the movie.
Yeah, think of all the actors that are in most Wes Anderson movies. It's like a crazy ensemble of people.
I mean, Bill Murray's a mainstay. I mean, he's worked with Edward Norton multiple times.
Oh.
I mean, he's worked with
F. Murray Abraham.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
it's the who's who of
Bruce Willis, Frances McDermott, Angelica Houston, Cate Blanchett. Like these are not scrubs.
It's like
we're talking
who of
we're talking
people.
Best of the best in a lot of ways, and it's like, god damn, even Ben Schwartzman even is a great character actor for him.
Yeah,
Jeffrey Wright, Scarlett Johansson, like these are great actors that are having a lot of fun with what they're doing. So I adore Life Aquatic. I adore Wes Anderson. This will not be the last Wes Anderson on my list, but I think the next one is a very healthy gap between the next one. So, but yeah, Grand Budapest and Life Aquatic are pretty much like neck and neck for me, which what I love more. So I just went, tie goes to Bill Murray. There's more Bill Murray in Life Aquatic.
Yep.
Because I remember wanting to hate that movie for so long, just like never watching it because like, that's stupid. And then getting into Wes Anderson is like, wait, it's a Wes Anderson movie led by Bill Murray. Why am I not watching this movie? And I watched it. I just went. I wanted to punch 10 years younger me, just being like, "You're a fucking idiot. What were you doing? This is great."
Yeah.
Love me some Life Aquatic. Love me some Wes Anderson. But that has been our rundown. If you were going to recommend someone go watch one movie out of the 10 that you recommended, what would you say it would be?
Good question. I would go recommend The More the Merrier, because I had never heard of it. No one ever talks about it, so yeah, go watch that from 1943.
It's a lot of fun to go watch these movies from back in the day, to go and enjoy and be like, okay, wow. That's the best part about movies from back in the day, is you can still get this raw, visceral, emotional reaction to it. And not like, oh, it made me just devastated, or it brought me so much joy, but it can still convey the message of what it's supposed to do. And that's what I love about those old movies. That's what they're doing. They're never trying to do too much most of the time. Is it over the top? Of course it is. It's an older movie, but nonetheless, it's fun to do, and I really appreciate and enjoy it. If for myself, it's kind of a tough one. I think just because it's underappreciated, I'll go with The Prestige. I think every other movie I have in here that would be recommendable is big enough that you'd figure it out on your own. The Prestige is one no one talks about and is such an incredible movie. And especially now that he's finally gotten his Oscar for Oppenheimer, more and more people are going to try to track down Christopher Nolan. So I'd say go watch The Prestige. Incredible movie. But that is going to do it here for us on the show. Getting ready for the Oscars with us, as we either have, I can't remember the schedule off the top of my head, but we've either just done our last Oscars recap, or we're just about to do our last Oscars recap and our predictions for this coming year. So stay tuned for that. And we got a lot of big stuff coming in March, as we're going to start the comic book movie Race to the Bottom tournament, which Dylan is just thrilled with. I gave you the Oscars. Now I have to torture you with bad comic book movies. But we're gonna have some fun with that. Check out all the stuff that we're doing, and you guys are gonna enjoy it. But go watch a great movie and enjoy your day. We appreciate you guys watching and listening. Peace, love, and hugs to you all. Goodbye.